Darktide is a brutal first-person co-op shooter set in the grim dark hive city of Tertium within the Warhammer 40k universe. I've delved deep into the pre-order beta, and after spending more than 40 hours in the game and trying out every class, here are the 5 things that I love about Darktide. The game just drips with atmosphere, much like the constant acid rainfall in the decaying water maintenance zone. Fat Shark have done a remarkable job of bringing this city to life. It is dank, dark and always dangerous. The city feels like it is slowly decaying under the weight of heretical devotion. In a nutshell, it oozes Warhammer 40k. The initial maps released with the pre-order beta did feel somewhat similar, with their traversal through the sub-levels, sewers and mechanical stations, but I was genuinely blown away by the contrast when an overland map was recently added to the roster of missions. To finally emerge from the dark into the light was shocking, and I can't wait to explore more of Tertium. While the graphics give the game its Warhammer feel, the sound brings the whole thing to life. The city is never silent, whether it is the atmospheric hum and sounds of a functioning hive city, the meaty sound of weapon fire, or the enemies you face. When special enemies enter the fray, they are announced by a specific sound: the scream of an incoming horde, a hound's howl, a mutant's roar, or the ticking of a soon-to-explode poxbuster. As the action becomes more frenetic, the fantastic music swells. Music is used sparingly when in missions, but when it is used, it works perfectly to heighten your adrenaline. This is a game where you will want to crank up the volume to truly appreciate just how awesome it is. Very much linked to this is the banter of your party members. It is darkly funny, at times highly useful as characters call out ammo, healing stations or enemies, and with over 85,000 lines of dialogue recorded, it never gets stale. Speaking of classes, the game launched with 4. The Ogre and Skullbreaker, the Zealot Preacher, the Veteran Sharpshooter and the Psycho-Cybernetic. While the first 2 classes are more melee based, they play very differently. The Ogre is the tank of the party, soaking up damage and applying crowd control liberally through its additional stagger ability. In contrast, the Zealot Preacher is more of a shock troop, which rewards an aggressive playstyle, swapping between melee and range weapons. The Veteran Sharpshooter is a range fighter, whose class ability lets it target elite enemies. And lastly, the Psycho-Cybernetic is a glass cannon mage, able to put out a ton of single target damage with its brain burst ability, best placed out of melee range. I've played all of the characters and do have my favourite, but I was genuinely surprised at how differently the classes play, making levelling up multiple characters slightly less of a grind. All of these classes come together for some awesome gameplay. What I think that Fat Shark have done incredibly well with the gameplay is its pacing. When a horde attacks, the gameplay becomes very frenetic and you spend much of your time just trying to survive. If this was constant, the game just wouldn't be fun to play, so Fat Shark have included slower paced sections, like the traversal across the city with sporadic enemies, which crank up the tension and make fights against hordes or monstrosities more impactful. The constant change in pace ensures that the gameplay never gets stale. But this is not a perfect game. Find out what sucks worse than an Ogren's conversational skills in this video here.